Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is just past midnight. Oh, this stupid thing. It is just past midnight on Friday, January 17th, 2025, which makes this the news for Thursday, January 16th, 2025, day 1058 of the 3-day SMO. I see that the peeps are starting to come in there. How's everybody doing? Bjorn, good evening. Nice to see you, pal. PT, how you doing? Hey, Bobby. Hey, Eli. Darlene. Got your nice note. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Brian, welcome. Walter Williamson. J. Phil. Hey, Joe. You had a hip replacement. How could a strong, youthful individual like you, who feeds themselves on pork roll, egg, and cheese on everything bagels, possibly need a hip replacement? Sorry to hear that, Lars. I hope you're feeling better. Hey, Steve with a V. Fucking Latin diseases, Joe, right? Well, pal, I hope you're recovering well. Buddy of mine had one done a few years ago. It was the best thing that ever happened to him. His movement was so limited before, and afterward he was much better. So I hope you have similar results. Hey, Renee Herman. Hey, Cheyenne. Mel 365, it's your birthday. Happy birthday, Mel. Hey, Andy. Everybody wish Mel a happy birthday. Hey, Nicola Jones. Hey, Hobo. Happy birthday, Mel. So, ladies and gentlemen, hey, Joey the Lips. It is Thursday, January 16th, 2025, day 1058 of the full-scale invasion. And for as much as the Russians keep bombing Ukraine, last night we saw 55 drones come in, 52 of them were taken out. That's a 94.5% interception rate. I mean, the Ukrainians are just doing a hell of a job. 3 of them did get through. They mostly landed on homes in Chernihiv. So they hit residential complexes, not energy infrastructure, not military targets, that's for sure. Hey, G2. Russia is on fire today, Walter. But that is not where we're going to start. That's my second thing. Here's where I want to start, guys. Because if you want to know how this war is going for Russia, if you want a real barometer for just how badly things are looking for the Russian Federation and Herr Putler, may I point you to Transnistria? Holy shit. The Russian government has been providing energy, basically free of charge, to Transnistria for years to guarantee their loyalty, right? To own them so that they do what they will say. Well, everybody here knows that the agreement to transit gas across Ukraine to Transnistria expired on the 1st of the year. And so Ukraine shut it down. Of course, right? Of course they did. Who's going to continue to participate in a process that makes the aggressor money so that he can come and unalive your citizens in their beds? Nobody, right? Doesn't make any sense. Everybody knew about this for years. Czechia built an extension to the Transalpine pipeline so that they could get gas from Italy and be free of Russian blackmail threats. Transnistrian government, they listen to Putin. They trust in Putin. Putin says he's going to keep the gas on. The Ukrainians aren't in charge. They're not going to shut off our gas. Putin's going to keep it going. Well, of course, their faith is completely misplaced in Vladimir Putin. And of course, the day came and the gas was shut off. Putin tried to squeeze Moldova, tried to get Moldova to take Russian gas through the Turk Stream pipeline. They wouldn't do it. So what is happening now? How is Transnistria going to get gas? The Russians are going to buy 3 million cubic meters of gas a day for the next 3 months from Europe. Right? So in 2022, it was all, Europe will freeze without our Russian gas. They will be serving squirrels in the Ritz-Carlton. There will be nothing. Everyone is going to freeze without Russian gas. And now the Russians are forced to buy gas from the Europeans that they tried to freeze alive in their beds. Well, Walter, they've still got a lot of money coming in. The Russians still have a lot of money coming in. Now, just because oil and gas revenues are off by 45%, 45%. Just because they're off by 45% doesn't mean the Russians don't have fucking money. There's still money, boy. There is still money. The pockets are deep on these people. And their economy is vast and huge, right? As is their country. As opposed to little Ukraine. Hey, Debbie. Hey, look. Nobody's paying me, pal, except my Patreon supporters, whom I am deeply appreciative of. I had okay. You know what? I'll make a video about that. Europe does not take the rubble. No, they do not. That's a great, Lars, that's a great question. What are they going to pay them in, actually? Because their access to dollars and euros is extremely limited. I don't know the answer to that. Could be, Mel. But most of the gold that's coming out, that they're stealing from Africa, anyway, is going straight to Iran to pay for drones. And the Iranians, they just announced 200. They just, if I'm not mistaken, the Iranians just unveiled 200 new drone designs. 200. That they will be unleashing on unsuspecting Israelis and who knows who else anytime soon. Probably Ukrainians too, of course. So, in my opinion, it is my estimation that this thing with Transnistria is just the poster child for how things are going for Russia. Ethelred, that's a great question. The Europeans are buying lots and lots of American liquefied natural gas, right? And so it's entirely possible that the gas that they will be buying for Transnistria is American gas. W42 asks a great question. We'll change the subject here. But as everybody that watches this channel should know, the president of Iran is supposed to travel to Moscow tomorrow, or maybe on a flight overnight tonight. He may well be in the air right now. And they are supposed to sign a mutual defense pact like the one that they have with North Korea. But there has been some chatter in the wind that Iran is going to back out of that deal. They're not going to sign. And that was exacerbated yesterday when we learned that one of the articles in this treaty does not require Iran to recognize the temporarily occupied territories nor the territory of Crimea as Russia. Now, that's a pretty big sticking point for the Russians, I would think. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll wait and see. By tomorrow night's live, we could very well have an answer, W42. Well, I see a lot of chat there that they shouldn't be allowed to do this. Well, Dawn Patrols, here's the thing. There's 500,000 people that are going to freeze to death if we don't get them gas. And they're not all Russian. I mean, about half of them have Russian passports, and the other half do not. So it's, I don't want to see 500,000 people freeze. I don't want that. I mean, I'm sorry that their leadership is incompetent, but we can make it up, and it's just business, right? Here's some gas. Here's what it costs. Pay for it. What is the percentage of Russian military left? It's not like that, Matthew. The Russian military has actually grown since the start of the war. Why? Because they keep bringing in new people. That's why. Hey, Fitz, how you living, pal? Trump wants Panama so Russia can move its fleet. Ask anyone who's ever served in the Navy. That's absolutely right. Although I do not approve of your handle. I can't even say that on here. Okay. Hey, Anthony, Tommy, Tom, living the dream. So, will the EU sell the gas to Russia? It appears that they will. We're doing this, everybody's doing this to avoid a humanitarian catastrophe in Transnistria. Now, once Russia falls, then Transnistria is going to have to turn to Moldova. But between now and then, they bought themselves 3 months of gas, and that'll carry them through the winter, right? That's where we're at. Now, somebody just mentioned the Panama Canal. And it is worth mentioning, I have all the screenshots ready. I just didn't do the video yet. Hey, Jeff. I didn't do the video yet, but according to Russian state TV, get this. Russian state TV says Trump will split Greenland with Russia. Russia need Greenland as much as U.S. And Russia and U.S. will split Greenland. If there is anybody out there who still doesn't think that Donald Trump is a tool of the Kremlin, isn't Putin's puppet, you are not paying attention. His re-election is the greatest scandal and crime that has ever been committed against the American people, and it was done by them, to themselves. It's all because we hold our principles dear. The right of freedom of speech is sacred to us. And even when people are talking bullshit, we think that they should be able to talk so that the rest of us can understand their bullshit and not buy into it, right? Expose the lies. The problem is the internet came along. And the internet has created a world in which people can silo themselves inside of an understanding of the world that is not real. That is a lie. That is based on lies. Trump wants Greenland for Russia. Look at the 3 things he's talking about. Greenland, Canada, and Panama. What do they all have in common? They are the shipping routes that Russia needs for its oil business. Please. It's a joke. These aren't Trump's goals. These are Putin's goals. And he's the puppet that's going to get it for him. Don't kid yourself. Don't kid yourself. And listening to them talk on state TV on Soloviev Live, I mean, it's clear. It's Russia that wants Greenland. It's Russia that's going for Greenland, not the USA. Who knows? Maybe they'll wait for the USA to go in militarily, then they'll nuke the US and take Greenland. Who knows, these fucking people? It is impossible to know what they think because they are not rational. Yes, and as a side note, dismantling NATO, Ethelred, I agree. Russia has their own routes to Asia. Do you understand where Russia's oil wells are? They're above the Arctic Circle. They're in the far north. What is happening every day? The world gets warmer. And as climate change happens, the Arctic ice is opening. Before long, there will be a Northwest Passage in the summer. It's coming. The Russians know because they're in the Arctic all the time. As a matter of fact, on Soloviev Live, the one fella put it this way. He said, the Arctic War has started. The Arctic War has started. Not only in the Arctic. Not only in the Arctic. Motherfucker, if they had any quantity of oil anywhere else, do you think they'd have built a 3,000-mile pipeline to China from the Arctic? Give me a break. Give me a break. Okay. So we had the first POW swap of 2025 yesterday. 25 POWs came home. We hope this is the first of many. And to that end, the guys in Kursk captured 27 new Russians today. And so there's the exchange fund is replenished. No, Herb, that's far away from being complete. Far from being complete. And when you say an atomic icebreaker, it's important to recognize that it's like an atomic submarine, right? It's powered by a nuclear engine. It doesn't need oil or gas or whatever. I don't know what a Kirov Class BC is, Mel. It wasn't the reactor, Lars. They claimed that in that crane ship that went down in the Mediterranean, the Russians claimed that the doors, the steel reinforced or lead-lined doors for the reactor, hatches, on a ship they're hatches, sorry, pardon me, hatches for the reactor, each weighing several tons, were on that ship that went down. Now, whether or not they were actually, I don't believe that's what the cargo was at all, personally. But it could have been. Could have been. First POW of 2025 today or yesterday. Now, in terms of Russia on fire, holy fuck, is it on fire? It is estimated that at the Engels Air Force Base, 1 million tons of jet fuel have gone up. Now, I pulled up the Google map for Engels. And I got to tell you, the Crystal Oil Depot at Engels is enormous. There are 54 tanks. And to date, we believe only 6 of them have burned. Yeah, that's 1 million tons of fuel. But if those other tanks are full, there's literally millions of tons of fuel there. Something like I did a little quick math on a napkin. It's something like 385 million gallons of jet fuel there. So I thought that the attack was far more damaging than it was. But if those other tanks are full, there's still plenty of jet fuel to go around. Now, if Ukraine knew which tanks were empty and which were full, and they only hit the full ones, well then, Aiden, I don't know the answer to that. What does a gallon of jet fuel cost? And then multiply that by 385 million. And that's just what was lost. That's not what's stored there. There's 54 tanks, each of them 120,000 cubic meters. It's a lot of jet fuel, boy. So Ingalls is not having a good time of it. The ammo dumps at Ingalls were hit as well. We don't have anything to indicate that any of the aircraft were damaged. And I want to take something back here. Bobby, if you're listening, you made a comment on one of the posts the other day about the glide bomb attacks, that this would help diminish the glide bomb attacks. And I didn't think that glide bombs came from Engels. Turns out they do. On the latest satellite imagery from Engels, there's at least 14 Su-34s, 14 Su-34s and 4 Su-35s, which are exactly the planes that carry the glide bombs. So it's probably correct to say that this will impact glide bomb runs. The average price of jet fuel is $6.50. Yep. Bye-bye glide bombs, Bobby. At least for now, right? We'll see what happens. The number of glide bomb attacks has dropped significantly. We're not hearing about them the way that we always did. So $6.50 a gallon times 385 gallons, or 385 million. That's like, $1.6 billion worth of fuel. It's a lot of fuel. STN-2 says, I imagine it's different glide bombs at each airstrip. Not all glide bombs are equal. It's a fair point, right? You got the 250s, the 500s, the 1000s, and even 3000s. Although those can't fly on the 35s, you need a heavy bomber for them. STN-2, that rings a bell. Like I should know. Wait a minute, STNM2. STNM2, is this where your name comes from? It's a gene sequence on gene 6, right? That controls the flexibility, rigidity, and construction of microtubules in axon attachments to neurons, right? Is that where your name comes from? All right. I'll figure it out yet. Don't tell me yet. Because I love a puzzle. Okay, so in Engels, you got the oil depot burning. In Voronezh, there's an oil depot burning too. This is a small one. Just 4 large oil tanks and 6 small ones. It's burning big. There's at least 3 fires on the scene. It's entirely possible that the facility may be destroyed completely. I'm a jack of all trades. I'm all over the place, man. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a bullshitter. Maybe I just made that shit up, right? Why don't you look it up and tell me I'm full of shit? Anyway, I love the human body. It's amazing. Volgograd. Okay, now the first 2 we talked about, Engels and Voronezh, those are oil depots. Those are oil depots. Right, so oil storage. They're not refineries. We got 2 refineries on fire right now. The Saratov oil refinery in Engels, Russia is still on fire, as is the Volgograd oil refinery. Now, the Volgograd oil refinery, we don't know if that was a drone hit or not. The Ukrainians aren't taking credit for it. The Russians are saying it was a technical malfunction or technical failure. And We don't know. But what's important is the main cracking tower is on fire. Now, the cracking tower is where all the magic happens. It's where that crude oil, with its heavy specific gravity, gets split up into diesel and asphalt and unleaded gas, premium, whatever. Right? That's where that magic happens. What is the situation at Volgograd? Now, this plant has been hit before. This is the LUKOIL facility. Now, for anybody in the U.S., there's LUKOIL gas stations in parts of the U.S. I encourage you to never go in there and fill your tank. You are contributing to the unaliving of Ukrainians. It is just that simple. You are paying taxes to the Kremlin for every bag of Tostitos you buy at a LUKOIL. Don't do it. And if you're an American working for one, quit your fucking job. Have some self-respect. The Volgograd refinery processes 13.7 million tons of crude oil every year. It is responsible for 7% of the diesel produced inside Russia. And right now, Russia needs every gallon of diesel it can get. The war effort needs it. The farming industry needs it. Everybody needs it. It is said, or it is believed, that this plant will not be able to process half of its of its diesel moving forward because that cracking tower is too badly damaged. So they're going to have to replace that cracking tower. That could take months. That means that production at one of the 10 largest refineries in Russia, a refinery responsible for 7% of all diesel production, is offline. It's offline. And the country is going to be down 3.5% of diesel production. Given that all of this is mission critical to the war effort, and it's all based on a just-in-time delivery economy where you're producing just as much as you need to get out to your customers. I cannot imagine that we are far away from rationing or shortages inside of Russia. Years. It'll take years to rebuild this. I'm still giggling, though. The fact that Russia, with the largest proven natural gas reserves in the world, largest natural gas reserves in the world, is having to buy gas from Europe for Transnistria, it makes me so happy. It is such a red flag on how this war is going. Hey, Rob Walker, the biggest news today, as far as I'm concerned, is that the Russians are buying European gas for Transnistria. Right? 3 years ago, it was Russia. Without Russian gas, Europe will freeze. And now it's, please, Europe, can we buy some gas for our friends in Transnistria? That's the biggest news, pal. Okay. Yes, PT, they sure are. Yes, they sure are. Okay, our boy Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, was in Ukraine today. He visited a burn center where he met with victims of the Russian aggression. He laid flowers at the memorial to Ukrainian Armed Forces servicemen that have lost their lives in this tragic conflict. He gave updates on the tracking of stolen grain from Ukraine. The Russians have stolen a lot of grain from this country and sold it elsewhere, and it is being tracked. He announced the 100-year partnership, and they signed the treaty, a 100-year military partnership with the UK. Further, he pledged £3 billion a year for the foreseeable future. They also had conversations about stronger economic ties and cultural ties, including education and medicine. And there are two big ones here at the end. He confirmed that UK troops will put boots on the ground as part of a peacekeeping mission to Ukraine, should they be required. So we now have a commitment on the table from a major European power that they will put boots on the ground to defend a buffer zone with Russia. LUKOIL is a Russian company. I don't care who founded it or where it comes from. Today, it's a Russian company. Now, these troops, should they ever come here, he said very clearly, will have a license to kill. They will be able to return fire. So anybody opens up on them, they can shoot back. The other thing that Keir Starmer did today was he survived a drone attack on the city. A drone fell just blocks from where this head of state was. No, or I'm sorry, he's head of government, right? In the U.S., we don't split head of state and head of government, right? It's just the president. But he's head of government, not head of state. Okay. One of these days, the Russians are going to fuck it up, and they're going to unalive somebody like Keir Starmer just purely by accident, right? Remember when they did this to the Greek PM when he was in town? Ugh, unbelievable. So it's that kind of reckless endangerment of civilian people, thanks, Bubba Head, of civilians, that is the hallmark of the Russian in this war. Let's now this is we don't get it. We don't get it. Because nobody here would think to do to another person what the Russians are doing to POWs and captives. You read the details of how sex is weaponized, how torture proceeds, and it is startling in its violence, in its sadism, in its pointlessness. It is pointless. Torture is a pointless effort for everybody involved. And yet on Monday, the UN Independent Commission on Ukraine took a very powerful position in describing the systemic torture of Ukrainians, of Ukrainian POWs and civilians in the occupied territory. I will skip the descriptions. We're not going to talk about any of what these people have been doing. Suffice it to say that your worst nightmares cannot begin to describe what the Russian fascists are doing to human beings every day for no reason other than they are demented. Because torture doesn't yield results. When you're being tortured, you'll say anything to make it stop. So it doesn't matter, right? It does not matter. What these people have done, they have created victims that will suffer long-term problems of reintegration. Now, this is not me talking. This is according to the UN report. Specifically, family separation, loss of career, and protracted trauma and PTSD is the life that's ahead of these people. War is bad enough. But on top of it, to do what the Russians are doing to people, it's obscene. It's obscene. And they're war crimes. And it goes to the point that Russia has forfeited its right to exist. We have to stop talking about their side and security guarantees for Russia. It's the world that needs security guarantees against Russia. That's what we need. Rheinmetall CEO Armin Pappenger announced delivery of the first Lynx ISVs to Ukraine. Now, these Lynx ISVs, they're brand new infantry fighting vehicles. It's a brand new design. It's the first time they're on the battlefield. Ukraine is going to be battle testing them in the theater here. They are said to be versatile, modular design. The modular design allows for mission-specific equipment to be added, providing a cost-effective functionality, according to the website. The website went on to say that this is the ultimate future-proof platform, blending unsurpassed protection and massive firepower with unbeatable mobility in a uniquely modular concept. Some of the modules include an LR2 anti-tank guided missile piece that can be bolted onto the ISV. And then here's something that we're seeing more and more of, like with the Magura V5 drones, right? They're not just drones that smash into a ship and explode. No. They are a mobile combat platform that can deploy loitering munitions, that can deploy reconnaissance drones, do their own reconnaissance, right, etc., that kind of thing. Well, this baby comes with all of that. You just got to plug it in. UAV and EW electronic warfare packages are available, as well as non-line of sight loitering munitions. So you can this can be a platform from which you launch reconnaissance drones. In addition, it's got one heavy gun, and Ukraine has received several of these. There is an order for several hundred. Just the first few have been delivered. We do not know how many have been delivered. In Kherson, there's heavy shelling going on, and the human hunt continues. 3 people were unalived in heavy shelling today. Another Marshutska, which is like a shared ride taxi kind of provider, was also hit. No one was killed in that attack, but 3 people were killed in Kherson from active shelling. Other than that, there's really no movement on the front. In good news, looking at the Ukrainian civil life, in 2024, Ukraine added 835 megawatts of new electrical generation capacity in decentralized form. Now, that's nearly a gig of electrical generation capacity on the grid to replace what the Russians have destroyed. The fact that it is decentralized, few windmills here, some solar panels there, cogeneration facility here, means that it is much harder for the Russians to target and take out. Unlike these other plants that service a unique community, you take out the plant, you kill all the heating and electricity for the entire city, right? That's what they're trying to avoid as they revamp the grid and reimagine the grid. Finally, U.S. passed new sanctions with over 100 entities and individuals sanctioned. Andrei Yermak, spokesman for the president's office here in Kyiv, said that key enterprises, companies, and individuals involved in supporting the Russian war machine have been compromised by these sanctions. And that's good news for everybody. Hey, Hey everybody, Spirit of Ukraine is here. Everybody say hello to Spirit of Ukraine, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. Now, I want to mention Spirit of Ukraine. Thank you so much. I literally could not do this without you guys. You know that. But Spirit of Ukraine became the first person to take me up on my offer of a $5 a month subscription paid for the year, and you get a live sponsorship. And here we are. And since I had no other live sponsors lined up, Spirit of Ukraine, tonight is all about you. And the good work that you do on behalf of the people of Ukraine. So thank you, SOU. We sure appreciate it. And also, let me thank the moderator team, best moderator team on the Tickety Talk, Cheyenne, Vanetta, PTJ, and Travis. Big thanks to Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group on the Book of Faces, and to Lars, who has the Discord server. And Paul Tennant is here from the UK. Hey, Paul Tennant, how you doing? Well, thank you, Spirit of Ukraine. Your kind words are very meaningful to me. Thank you. Okay, so how are we doing on time? We got 15 minutes. Questions, comments, points of observation, or personal need? Anything from anybody about anything? Do not underestimate this Transnistria thing. This Transnistria thing, I mean, karma is a bitch. Thank you, Lars. Thanks for dropping by, Nana Pam. What else is going on out there, kids? Thanks for dropping by, Sarah. So Rob Walker asks a great question. Does Ukraine have more tanks than Russia now? Yes and no. So what I mean by that is that the best open source intelligence indicates that Ukraine currently is in possession of about 1,500 working tanks that are on the battlefield doing the job. It's worth pointing out that 600 of them were captured from the Russians, okay? So fully 2/3 of the tanks in the inventory were captured from Russia. I'm sorry, 2/5. 2/5. The Russians are thought, based on the best open source intelligence we have, that Russia has about 1,400 tanks in Ukraine. In Ukraine. There's about probably 4,000 more in storage in Russia. But here's the good news. Those 4,000 don't fucking work. They're pieces of shit. They have no barrels. They're rusted out hulks. Any one of them, the best among them, is going to take months, potentially, or at least weeks, of refurbishment to get back onto the battlefield. Russia can refurbish about 200 of them a year. They're losing 14 a day. 200 a year is not going to keep up with demand. It's a good question, Big D. Let's do that. They're still sitting there from the Soviet Union collapse. That's exactly what they're doing. Exactly. Now, Big D asks a question. What are the dominoes to watch? Dominoes to watch. Now, I thought Moldova would be high on the list because I thought there was no way they were going to get them gas. Now they got them gas. Okay. Moldova and Georgia are dominoes to watch. The Georgian people are still protesting in the street every night, still clashing with police. The illegitimate government is still in control, just like it's about to be starting on Monday in the United States. Make no mistake, Donald Trump is illegitimate. It is a crime and a sin. And it goes to the point that Biden, God bless him, he meant well, but he was weak. He was super weak. You're not gonna deal with evil by talking to it like a partner. It's not gonna work. How many of those tanks available have very skilled drivers and gunners? Not many. That's the other problem, Rob Walker. That's the other problem. Russia's running out of trained men. Now that's interesting, PT. Trump is totally illegitimate. Totally illegitimate. Give me a break. He was elected through the election interference of our enemies. He is an enemy of the United States. Every word out of his mouth proves that. Would I rather have a weak Biden or a strong Trump? I'd rather have a weak Biden. Yeah, I would. You know why? Because he's not going to tear down the foundations of the democracy that I love. And I'm sorry, I love Ukraine and I am on Ukraine's side, but if it's Ukraine or the U.S., that's not even a question for me. Sacrifice Ukraine in a heartbeat for the U.S. But the U.S. doesn't deserve it anymore. We have totally lost our way. Should we be afraid of Putin? No, nobody should be afraid of Putin. That's disappointing. Now, our boy in Brussels here, Flippy, says that he spoke to the Belgian consul to Georgia last week and that he does not expect any real change there. That's too bad. Oh, there'll be protests on Monday. I'd be very surprised if they couldn't be. Oh, Big D, that's what I wanted to say. To your question, what's the next domino to fall? We don't know, right? There could be a black swan event anywhere, anytime, like with Syria. But Armenia was first. Syria is what I'm counting as first. Syria was second. Third could very well be Slovakia, baby. The Slovak people are in the streets protesting by the tens of thousands against Ficio's kissing Putin's ass bullshit. And the government has now called for a vote of no confidence in him. That could lead to new elections and a new government coming in. So I would argue that the next domino to watch, or the three big dominoes to watch, Transnistria, Georgia, and now Slovakia. And not in that order, probably Slovakia first, Transnistria, then Georgia. Can Koreans read Russian? Apparently not. So Terry, we all have our own prejudices, right? We all have our own biases. And I remember when this first came up about North Koreans going to Russia, I remember saying to people, oh, it's not going to be a problem. The North Koreans all speak Russian. It turns out they do not. That language education in North Korea has stopped. None of them speak Russian, apparently. And so they cannot read Russian, they cannot speak Russian, and the language barrier is proving to be quite a problem that has led to more than one friendly fire incident. Who's your favorite candidate for the next presidential race? With Trump in there, there may not be one. I don't have a candidate for the next one. Russia has emptied their museums to put tanks on the battlefield. Yeah, they have. A lot of museum pieces are on the battlefield today or in training. It appears that a bunch of T-34s from museums are now what they're training the tankers in. So this came up the other day. Somebody mentioned about T-34s. There was video of them. So I went poking around looking for it, and it appears as though some of the training today is being done on T-34s These came out in 1934, right? 34? Or were they 52? I don't know. It doesn't matter. They're fucking old. So apparently they're training them on T-34s, and then they're expected to take over at T-72. Hey, Rocco. Yeah, Nana Pam, I saw that. What a sick tragedy that this whining, infantile, copper-tone con man is having the flags raised to full mast for his inauguration, that he cannot countenance the notion of respectfully mourning a former president. That's how weak and thin-skinned the Tangerine Palpatine is. Well, Al, thank you so much. You know, those are such easy words, and we hear them so little here on the internet. So Al had confused when he mentioned about LUKOIL earlier. There's a Luke, L-U-K-E oil, which is an Indiana-based company. And then there's LUKOIL, which is the Russian company. And so he just mentioned down there that he had that clarification. Thank you. Can America file for a vote of no confidence? No, we don't have that, Terry. So, okay, now, Anthony, you're the second one to bring up nukes tonight. I ignored the first guy because he was an agent provocateur. But I'll talk to you about nukes. You know the big missile attack the other day? The big missile attack that we woke up to here Wednesday morning, right? 40 missiles. An unknown number of them, and I say unknown because the Ukrainians just haven't told us. An unknown number. Hey, Vera from Sydney. It's already tomorrow for you. An unknown number. Get this. This is crazy to me. An unknown number of the missiles that came in on Wednesday were KH-55SMs, which are nuclear missiles. Okay, they're meant to carry a nuclear warhead. Now, it has been over a year since we have seen Kyiv or Moscow pull this trick, where they screw the head off a tactical nuke and then they just send the empty shell. Why are they doing that? You can be sure that they're going to say that it's to intimidate us, right? To show us that at any moment, nuclear hell can be unleashed and turn Kyiv to dust. Ah, Rob Walker. They don't have them. So they're sending dummies to try to overwhelm air defense because they don't have actual missiles to overwhelm air defense. I think so. I'm with you, Rob Walker. I think that could be why. I don't know. We don't know. But given the fact that every single missile casing that forensics opens up has a production date of the last 90 days, says to me that they're creating them as fast as they can use them. Fast as they can use them. Okay, we're just about down to 2 minutes. So I want to thank the sponsor of tonight's live, Spirit of Ukraine, and the very good work that they do on behalf of the people of Ukraine. I want to thank the moderator team, best moderator team on the Tickety Talk, Cheyenne, Vanetta, PTJ, Travis, Jay and Travis. Big thanks to Nightshade, who has the Peters Peeps group on the Book of Faces. Hey, did anybody hear? Oh, and to Lars, who has the Discord server and the Alexievich archive. Now, real quick, Did anybody hear an announcement just before I got on the live? I was posting a video and an Aaron Parnas video came up saying that the Biden administration was putting a hold on the TikTok ban. Has anybody heard anything? Was that just bullshit? Was it a mistake? 36 hours. What are they going to do in 36 hours? I mean, can he even do that as a matter of law? All right, well, I'll take a look after we get off here. Interesting. Take care, Terry. Thank you so much. In Ukraine, they say, Oberezhna. Watch yourself. Watch your back. Yeah, Bobby, we are. Well, there's one thing about empires, though, at least. The clothes get better. People dress better in an empire. So, I mean, at least we have that to look forward to. I look great in a black leather jacket. You know, a trench coat, like Gestapo style. Yeah. Thanks, Buckeye Girl. Hey, Arn, when did you sneak in? Good night, Spirit of Ukraine. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for sponsoring tonight's live. Yeah, I'm a big fan myself, Fitz. All right. Good night, kids. Make it a great day.